Hi everyone, welcome to Lola's Frugal Life. This is episode number 114. Today we're going to be talking about tips to save when you're a natural spender. So please stick around for a few quick words from our sponsor and we'll get right into the show. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about tips to save money when you are a natural spender. So how do you know if you're a natural spender? I think for some of us we're probably somewhere in between a spender and a saver, depending on what's going on in life and different things that might be more tempting to you that you want to spend money on. Or so there's probably some aspect of both. But I would definitely think some people lean more towards spender and some people lean more towards saver, just based on the way that their personality is. So some things to think about to decide if you think you might be a natural spender. Say if you find $20 in your pocket, what would be your reaction? Is it like, oh, yay, I can go buy myself lunch now, or I can run out and buy something that I had no intention of buying? Or would you think, okay, well, I have this $20, I'm just going to kind of keep this aside. Maybe I'll go stick it in a drawer at home somewhere, and then if I wind up needing it, I'll know it's there. So, kind of your initial reaction to having some extra money to spend. Or maybe when you budget for something that's not a necessity, like maybe you just budget to, I don't know, go out somewhere or go purchase something extra, go buy some clothes, or maybe go out to dinner. When you budget for something like that, do you feel the need to go run out and do it right away? Or do you kind of think well, let's wait for the perfect time? Or do I really need it? Maybe I shouldn't really spend it on that yet. Or let me make sure we're going to get the best value. Like if you're going out to dinner, are you looking more for, let's see, does anyone have any special offers? Or do you just run right out and you're like, we have money in our budget for going out to dinner. Let's just head out to our favorite place. And you don't think about the cost so much. You just have money to spend and you're ready to spend it. So that, that type of thought process, I think might kind of lead you to think maybe you might be a natural spender. But either way, whether you're a natural spender or a saver, it's important to recognize either way so that you don't go overboard. If you're a natural spender, you could go overboard and spend more money than you actually had available to spend and then put yourself in a bad financial situation. But at the same time, if you're a natural saver, you could just give up a lot of fun opportunities by not spending anything. So you have to, there's kind of like a balance. Of trying to get yourself to land somewhere in between. So I was trying to think for myself, am I a natural spender or a natural saver? It's really hard to kind of decide, because like I said before, if you think of different aspects, you probably might land in both places depending on the type of purchases. Like for example, with my kids, when they were younger, if we'd go into the store, if it was a holiday or the birthday coming up or whatever reason there could be to buy extra things and spend extra money, I always wanted to make everything special, and I would definitely be more willing to make purchases of things for them that I didn't necessarily have money set aside for. So in those instances, I feel like I guess you could call that a natural spender, because it would be oh yeah, it's a once in a lifetime thing, or those types of things, and just spend the money. But I've definitely gotten much, much further away from that over time, because I started to recognize it and I really started to get into budgeting and tracking our expenses and really seeing where our money was going and realizing that those aren't the best choices. But we still do make fun things in that way, just not so without thought. We don't do it without thought put into it. So say for example, as Halloween was approaching, my one daughter really wanted to go out and buy some Halloween decorations. So I said, okay, well, this is how much money I budgeted for Halloween spending this year. And when we went out to the store, we had fun and we went out and purchased those things. But she was aware of what the budget was, and we weren't just going to go buy everything we saw just because it was cute, even if it put us over budget. We had a limit, and that was it. No matter how many extra things we saw that would be great to have or would be so much fun, we had a limit, and we stuck to it. We also do little things like, say, I've mentioned this in other episodes too. They like to go to pick up stuff at Trader Joe's or whatever, and that's not part of like my weekly regular grocery budget. So every once in a while, if I have a little extra money, I'll set it aside, and I'll say one day I'll be like, hey guys, we have like $30 set aside for Trader Joe's. You want to go? And you guys can pick out a few things, and they'll pick out some fun snacks or things like that. So we're doing like that spending, but it's more like with purpose and with a dollar amount already assigned to it before we go out. So I think maybe I do have some of the natural spending tendencies, but I've definitely like reined them in, and I really enjoy saving and being really intentional with our spending. So either way, if you are a natural spender, I have some tips here to talk about on ways to kind of rein that in if you feel like you're having trouble controlling those tendencies and maybe you're spending more than you really want to be spending. So the first tip is to track your expenses. So even if you really enjoy going out and just spending money on whatever happens to come up that day, you might change your mind about that if you actually see how much you're spending on certain items. Because when you're just going day to day, you think $5 here, $10 there, you don't really think of how much that adds up to. And it can be very easy to just think you're not really spending as much as you are. So like say for example, and this is like a typical like the latte example that's given many times, but it's a good way to look at it. So say you're stopping at the local coffee shop on the way to work every day and buying like a $3 coffee. So if you do that 5 days a week, that's $15 a week or $60 a month. So maybe to you, you're like, well, I really love that coffee and I love supporting the local business, and I'm totally fine with spending $60 a month on that, and that's fine. But it's more knowing and making that decision. Maybe it's not worth it to you. Maybe you don't want to be spending $60 a month on coffee. Maybe you'd rather be spending that $60 differently. Maybe you could just say, okay, I'm going to go every Friday and make it like special. Oh, it's Friday. Yay, I get to go get my coffee. And then you only spend $12 a month. And now you have the rest of that money, another $48, to go put towards something else. So it's more about just knowing where your money's going and then making those choices more intentionally. Because when you get a hold of where your money's going, you can decide if you want to change your spending habits, or if you don't. Maybe you're fine with how your spending habits are. But if you're not tracking it in any way, it's really difficult to know if you're making choices that you're good with and that is putting your money where you want it to go. So tracking your expenses is really important to control your spending if you're a natural spender, just so that you kind of know where your money's going and making sure that you're not going overboard in any areas that you don't want to be. Another tip is to try and get yourself excited about some financial goals. Like set some goals that you need money for, that you want to set money aside for. And that can help you really think about making purchases that maybe aren't for necessities. Maybe it might help you to consider, like, okay, do I really want to spend this $50 on going out to dinner tonight when I could put that $50 towards this goal that I'm working on? And those goals can be anything as big as trying to save for early retirement to something smaller like saving up for a long weekend getaway. Just having something to reach for and to save for can really help you make different decisions on making like those impulse type purchases. Maybe instead of going on Amazon and shopping, maybe instead if you're planning for a trip, you might take that time to go online and search for maybe some places you want to see when you go there, or some restaurants you might want to eat at when you go on your trip. Just kind of redirecting that energy away from shopping and spending to things you might want to do related to those different financial goals that you have set. And when you do have a little money available to spend, maybe you want to set it aside so that you can accumulate it to reach those goals. Maybe you don't want to just run out and go buy something because you happen to have some money in your pocket. So, getting yourself excited about financial goals and really wanting to achieve them and getting the excitement out of seeing that money build rather than spending it can definitely replace that, happiness you might get from going out and making a purchase. Another tip is to try and set small rewards for yourself for hitting your financial goals. So maybe each time you hit a benchmark, maybe when you hit $500 or $1,000 of savings or something that you might be saving up for, maybe you do go out and get like a special coffee drink, or you go out to dinner, or you go to a movie, or whatever, some kind of little celebration. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. It's more just the acknowledgement that like, oh yeah, I hit this goal. You could go do like a little cheese and cracker platter, like buying the stuff yourself and putting out cheese and crackers and maybe a special drink or whatever, and say, yay, we hit this goal, and just kind of acknowledging it. So it's, just kind of like making it fun to achieve these goals and gear yourself more towards that than rather, oh, Friday night I'm going to go out shopping and buy all these things that I really don't necessarily need. So you're kind of like redirecting those like fun rewards to hitting the goals rather than to making purchases. Another tip is to challenge yourself to leave the store with only the item you intended to buy. So if you feel like you struggle with going into Target or Costco or whatever store you like to go in to purchase things, if you struggle with going there, say to pick up something for $5, and each time you leave spending at least $100, that's not going to work well with keeping your expenses in check. So try to challenge yourself to go in and buy exactly what you came for and leave with only that. Believe it or not, it can actually give you a really great like boost when you leave the store with just what you want. Like it can, if you really think about it and like acknowledge like, hey, I went in there to buy a roll of paper towels and I came out with a roll of paper towels. You can get just as much excitement from that as you can from going in and purchasing all these random things that you didn't want to originally buy anyway. You can feel like really proud about yourself for going in, buying what you need, and coming out with nothing else. And the more you practice doing that, the less likely you'll be distracted by other things that are available in the store, because you'll get yourself in the habit of just going in, buying what you want, and getting out. And it definitely can help you stay away from some of those spending tendencies that you might have that are causing you not to meet your financial goals. Also, limit your trips to the store. The more often you run out for something, the more times you'll be tempted to purchase something that you didn't really intend to buy. So maybe you could just try and have like one day that you run errands, and maybe that's the day you grocery shop. Maybe while you're on your grocery shopping day, you also can run into Target to pick up a couple things you needed there. Whatever works best for you, but it's more about trying to limit the times that you're going into a store. Maybe if, on Tuesday you decide you need something, but you're like, well, I'm going out on Thursday anyway, I'll just get it then, rather than going out on Tuesday and then on Thursday again. The less times you're out in the store, the less times you're tempted to buy extra things. I definitely, like I said, I'm really good now about actually going in and just buying what I need and leaving with it. But I definitely used to be the type that would go in, like the example I gave, to Target to buy a $5 thing, and next thing I know, I'd come out $100 later. And I used to think to myself, if I had just stayed home tonight, I would not have this $100 worth of stuff that I had no intention of buying, and I wouldn't care that I didn't have it. Like, I wouldn't even be thinking that I didn't have this stuff that I just bought because it was nothing that I really needed. So if you really kind of think about that and get yourself into the mode of just limiting your trips to the store and just going and buying what you actually needed and leaving with it, it can make a huge difference in the amount of those extra dollars that you're spending throughout the month or throughout the week or whatever. And if you feel like you really do need to buy some stuff, to go out and purchase things just because it's just something that you really, really enjoy and you love spending money, and you need to go out and just have some free money to spend on whatever you feel like spending it on, then set a little bit of cash aside for that purpose specifically. If you can fit it in your budget, and if it's not going to put too much strain on hitting your other financial goals, set some free money aside. And when you're out in the store, or if you're out in a mall and you want to get something from the food court or whatever it is, you can use that money to just make random purchases. But you have to really be strict with yourself and know that when that money's gone, it's gone. If you're trying to reach financial goals, you really have to try and stick with, you can't say, oh, well, I have $20, but I was going to put $50 towards my other goal this month. Maybe I'll just take $10 of that and I'll spend this $30 instead. It's not really going to help you reach those goals. But if you feel like you have the willpower to say, okay, I have $20 of free spending money this week, and you know that you will really stick within that spending limit, then that's not a bad idea at all, to just allow yourself that freedom to make those purchases so that you still feel like you're having that fun, but you're also achieving your financial goals. But if you feel like it's going to be too tempting for you to have that free money and you think it's going to cause you to want to spend more, then maybe that's not a good idea. You just kind of have to know yourself and how you are with spending. So those are my tips for how to save when you're a natural spender. Hopefully maybe this might help you. Also, really it can help anybody, even if you're not necessarily a big spender. It's just always good to kind of rethink about where your money's going and how you are spending it, because maybe you want to still pull back a little bit from what you're doing if you have other goals that you really want to achieve that you need to make more progress on. So that's it for today. Don't forget, if you'd like to reach me with any feedback, episode suggestions, anything, you could reach me through Facebook Messenger at facebook.com/LolaSFrugalLife. We also have a private listeners group. You could submit a request to join that. I check it every day. So you'll be approved and admitted to the group right away. The Facebook page for the group is facebook.com/groups/LolaSFrugalLife. So I'd love to have you join that. Also, please don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this show. And also, if you would be kind enough to leave me a 5-star rating, that would be super exciting and really appreciated. It really helps the show get seen by more listeners, by more people that are, searching for this type of show. So I hope you have a really awesome day, and thank you so much for listening.